Hey everyone, many of you might have remembered Archbishop Vigano, who was excommunicated from the Catholic Church by Pope Francis. Well, I wanted to share this interview that he did that was pulled and did not broadcast over his justified criticism of the late Pope Francis. He starts out and says, in recent decades, a subversive lobby has taken over the levers of power in governments and institutions in order to carry out the anti-Christian and Masonic plan of revolution. And then going down a little further, the Catholic Church, which with the Second Vatican Council had already aligned itself with the worldly mentality, had however remained firmly anchored to certain non-negotiable principles, for example, in matters of sexual morality or respect for human life from the conception to natural death. Benedict was clearly opposed to the globalist plan and would never have degraded from these principles by legitimizing the LGBTQ ideology, gender ideology, and pseudo-health follies of the WHO in matters of genetic modification and world depopulation, or the Islamization of Europe through ethnic substitution. And then going a little further, and he calls him Bergoglio because that's his original name before he was named Pope Francis. It says here, on the day Pope Francis died, you wrote a post on X in which you define the statements Bergoglio confided as heretical ravings. Can you explain why? It says here, Bergoglio confided to him that he did not believe in hell and that he was convinced that good souls are saved by merging with God, while damned souls are destroyed, dissolved into nothingness. This contradicts both sacred scripture and the Catholic magisterium, which teach that every soul at the moment of physical death faces the particular judgment and is rewarded with either eternal bliss, possibly passing through purgatory, or punished with eternal damnation, depending on how it behaved in life and on its state of friendship or enmity with God at the moment of passing away. This is why I spoke of heretical ravings. They are added to a very long list of nonsense and heresies that we have all had to endure in recent years. Now, I certainly do not agree with the Catholic theology of works-based salvation, purgatory, but it seemed to me that many within the Catholic Church, including Archbishop Vigano, disagreed with the Pope because he veered so far away from traditional Catholic theology. And yet we have the mainstream media and so many people at the Pope's funeral singing his praises and endorsing him as a true man of God, as a humanitarian, as the people's Pope. And so there is a reason, obviously, that Archbishop Vigano was excommunicated. It goes on to say, what are you referring to when you speak of his heirs, the subversives? Bergoglio surrounded himself with corrupt and blackmailable characters, whom he used casually in order to obtain what he intended. He mocked, denigrated, and offended honest cardinals and bishops. He protected and covered up investigations into prelates accused of serious crimes. He promoted the entire chain of American prelates, corrupt and ultra-progressive, all connected to the former Cardinal McCarrick, who today occupy the main American dioceses and key positions in the Vatican. Going down, number 4, in your estimation, Pope Francis was an anti-pope, a non-pope. Can you explain why? The cardinal who was elected in a conclave as successor of Peter must express his acceptance and consent to assume the functions proper to the papacy. I believe that Bergoglio's acceptance of the papacy was flawed because he considered the papacy something other than what it is, like the spouse who marries in church, excluding the specific purposes of marriage, therefore nullifying the marriage precisely due to his defect of consent. Bergoglio obtained his election through fraud, abusing the authority of the Roman pontiff to do the exact opposite of what Jesus Christ gave a mandate to St. Peter and his successors to do. And obviously I disagree with that, But he goes on to say the Pope is not the master of the church, but rather the vicar of Christ. He must exercise his authority within the boundaries established by Jesus Christ and in accordance with the purposes desired by God. So this is a very long interview, but I wanted to share this with you because it really exposes exactly who Pope Francis was. He was a Jesuit. He was a globalist. He acted more like a politician in Roman Catholic garb than anything. And it's really alarming to see how many people are being deceived. Millions, if not billions of people deceived into his false teaching. And that's why so many believe that he could have been the false pope in Revelation. But now we know the next person that will become pope will most likely could be even worse than him, but maybe will do it in not such an obvious way as did Pope Francis. So I will include the link so you can read this interview for yourself in the description page.